صنعه الرب فلنفرح ولنتهلل به. المسيح قام من بين الأموات ووطئ الموت بالموت ووهب الحياة للذين في القبور. المسيح قام من بين الأموات ووطئ الموت بالموت ووهب الحياة للذين في القبور. المسيح قام من بين الأموات ووطئ الموت بالموت ووهب الحياة للذين في القبور. Χριστός ανέστη επνεκρόν θανάτων βαπτίσας και της εν τη μνήμας η ζωή ευχαρισάμενος. مسيح قام من بين الأموات ووطئ الموت بالموت ووهب الحياة للذين في القبور.
المسيح قام من بين الأموات ووطئ الموت بالموت ووهب الحياة للذين في القبور.
المسيح قام.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Again, I will say Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Here, LIN, Live Islam Now channels. It's on the second episode of Learn the Truth about Islam. So we're going to learn from within the Quran, within the Hadith, within the history, within the archaeology, opinions, and other Islamic source. And also we're going to open the critical history and archaeological about Islam and the pre-Islamic. Tonight, on the Eastern Standard Time, 8 o'clock p.m., we're going to start with the pre-Islamic overview. Jahiliyya. So you know what it's mean. When I was when I was in school, I learned about the era of Jahiliyya, the time of Jahiliyya. And what my understanding, what my teacher say was, on the time of Jahiliyya was, it is an illiterate, not educated people, still a prehistoric, like people live in the stone, live in the rock, people using rock or stone as tools. That's what I received from my teacher in Indonesia back then. And then what else do I learn? They also people who live barbaric, like they're drunken. They're killing each other. You know, they're cruel against women. They kill babies. They kill women, and their lifetimes like I remember the comic. I cannot remember the name of it, but I remember the what it is. It's like they're always angry. They have no gods, or they're worshiping a lot of gods, many different gods. Everything is gods. They're worshiping the animism. They're worshiping the spirits. They're worshiping the trees, the moon, the sun, the stars, and even some animals. That's what I learned in Islam back then when I was in Indonesia. But after I studied, I find out that is not true. So tonight, my presentation is based on my teacher's book, Dr. Daniel Janosik book, okay, The Guide to Answering Islam. And I'm opening on the chapter 1, which is a pre-Islamic overview. And what are we going to question you? And remember, let's open my presentation here. And do you remember my last question? Okay, do you remember my last question from the previous broadcast? This is it. Okay, before learn the truth about Islam, episode 2, Pre-Islamic overview, Jahiliyya, and this is from the book, The Guide to Answering Islam. Oops, excuse my okay, what's going on here? Okay, let's excuse my writing. What's happened? Oh, you know some? I have to use this. Okay, let's remove this. This for some reason. Oh no, that's my fault. I'm sorry. Okay, from the previous show, which is a Thursday night from the premiere, can Muhammad save you from hell? And I want a proof. Prove it, whatever is your answer. If your answer is no, then prove it to me. And I'm going to give you the links to join after I finish with my presentation. If your question is yes, Muhammad can save you from hell, I also want a proof. So whatever your answer is, I want a proof. I want in writing. I want to see the evidence. Okay. Next. Oops. Pre-Islamic overview, Jahiliyya. So we're going to start with our presentation right now. They say that this is from standard Islamic narration. This is from the tradition Muslims source. This is what I learned so far when I was in Indonesia. This is what I have learned when I was in school. What Islamic teacher taught me. The Arabs were spiritually lost and don't know Allah. We'll see. As I already said earlier, what they teach about Jahiliyya is they are illiterate. Are we sure about that? This is the 6th and 7th centuries. I'm talking about early 7th centuries, when Muhammad died 632, and when Muhammad born 570, and then 40 years later when he became a prophet, which is 622. So we'll see. Is it really true what they say? We have to learn we do not trust anything until we prove it. Until the history, the archaeology, the scientific evidence prove it, whether it's true or it's false. So we don't believe it just like that right now. And we have to learn like that. My Muslims and Muslimah friends, I know how you feel. You're not allowed to ask any question concerning Muhammad. You're not allowed to ask questions about Islam, about the Quran, about Allah, about anything. But today is different. Today is 21st century. Today informations are open. Of course, you might not allowed to ask a question to your dad, to your parents, to your teacher. But the information is at your hand. You can ask question over here. Whatever question, whatever information you're looking for is at the palm of your hands. Okay? And today I'm just going to bring you a little bit of information. The rest you can ask me through welcome to the live chat or the chat room. You can ask me whatever question, and I will be glad to answer you in the next show, the next live streams. It might not be the next few days, but I will look for the answer. If I cannot find the answer, I will look for the answer and I will give it to you. So give me a lot of question about Islam. Give me a lot of question concerning the Quran. Give me a lot of question about the origin of the Quran, the origin of surah. Ask me, and we'll be glad to help you to answer that question. Okay, so this is chapter 1. This is chapter 1 on the pre-Islamic overview, paganism or heretical monotheism. So we're going to expose what is Islam come from? How is Islam formed as a religion right now? And what type of religion is that? We will find out. Are we? Next. Oops. What is Jahiliyya? I already explained it to you just a little bit. What they say, they were spiritually lost. I'm talking about the Arabs, because as my understanding, this is only in the Arabs community, in the Arabs land. I don't think it's in China. It's just in the Arabs. They were spiritually lost. That's what they say. What's the meaning by spiritually lost? Are they without God? Are they without religion? Are they without beliefs? Remember, this is in the 7th century. And we already have Judaism. We already have a Hindu. At this time, they already have Buddhism, Hinduism, Zoroastrian. They already have Judaism. They already have Christianity or the way. They already have New Age religion. They already have so many religions. So what are they talking about that about the spiritually lost? What does that mean by spiritually lost? Are they lost in the woods? Are they just pagans? Just pagans? What pagans means? Are they just worshiping a stone? Or are they worshiping a rock? Are they worshiping a statue? What are they worshiping? Why they call it spiritually lost? This is a question that we have to ask a question. This is the question that we have to ask to the Muslims. Now we have to dare to ask. And also, this is for the Muslims, for my brothers and sisters, still Muslims. You have to ask this question. Do not be blind by what your imam, your ustad, what your teacher say. Next, their practices were strongly fighting among themselves. Are they really they fighting among themselves like a war? When did the war begin? The war began since I would say since Cain murdered Abel. That's when the wars begin. Yes, in a small portion, it's just an individual, but that's the war begin. So whose religion is this who are killing each other? Are Christians in a different denomination killing each other? Are Hindus and Buddhism, are they killing each other? Or is it the Muslim itself who killing each other because they don't believe in each other? Between Shia and Sunni? Oh, back then there is no Shia and Sunni. But are this the reason why they call it Jahiliyya? Remember, it's called fighting among themselves, or it's a war, or it's a civil war. Is it because it's a civil war, so they call it Jahiliyya? We don't know. They're culturally depicted. Are they? What is the meaning of the culturally depicted? Are you sure? Is the Islamic culture is better than Jahiliya culture? We will find out. Morally decadent and perverse. Are we really sure about that? What is the meaning of morally decadent and perverse? Are they having incest? Are they brutally in a sexual manner? We will find out. Is it really true? Is it really Jahiliyyah that they're talking about? Wasn't Islam also have a lot of morally decay? Let's find out. Illiterate. They call it illiterate. Are you sure? Illiterate mean nobody knows, no, uneducated. You don't read, you don't write. Are you sure about that? This is talking about 6th and 7th centuries. And the Bible were written in the 3rd centuries. Not even that, 32 years after, about 40 years, 50 years after Jesus died, which is in the 1st century, the early 2nd century. So I'm not sure what they're talking about illiterates. Are there no evidence of a culture? Are there no evidence of the arts? We know the Romans have so many arts, buildings, beautiful buildings with beautiful art. That's in the 1st centuries and even before Christ. So what kind of illiterate is this? What are they talking about? Animistic and idolatrous. Well, we'll see. Is it really true? Idolatrous. What is idolatrous? Idolatrous is you worship anything but God. We will find out. As we get along in this study, as we get along with this presentation, as we expose Islam from within, we will find out who is the idolatrous. Disobedience to the law of Allah. Now we know. It says disorient to the law of Allah. Well, my question was the people in the early Islamic, was Muhammad born with the law of Allah? We will find out. They buried baby girl alive. Now, let's see what they say. Is it really proved? They have to prove it. You know, what is it by bury baby girl alive? Hello? So, from all of these claims that we're talking about, that they claim the Jahiliyya era, are these claims true? Is it? Or is it just a claim? You know, you can claim anything, but what is the proof? Hello? I can claim, hey, I'm from Indonesia, but prove it that I am from Indonesia. I will say, hey, I'm an ex-Muslim, but I have to prove it. You have to ask me, Lynn, prove it that you're an ex-Muslim, and I will prove it. Okay? The traditional view, Arabic life before Muhammad, is described as, this is what they say, an age at which false thought of Allah were widespread in the Quran 3 verse 154. This is in the Quran. Then after the setback, he sent down security upon you. Slumber overcame some of you, while others care only for themselves. Thinking of Allah thoughts that were untrue, thoughts of ignorance, saying, is anything up to us? Say, everything is up to Allah. They conceal within themselves what they do not reveal to you, and they say, if it was up to us, none of us would have been killed here. Say, even if you had stayed in your homes, those destined to be killed would have marched into their death's bed. Allah thus tastes what is in your mind and purifies what is in your hearts. Allah knows what the hearts contain. Wait a minute. If you read the Bible, if you have read the Bible, study the Bible, this is like a stolen from the Bible. It says that Allah tests what's in your mind. No. Our God tests what's in your heart, not on your mind, but Allah tests what's on your head. Our God, Jehovah Jireh, our God, Elohim, our God, Yahweh, tests what's on your heart and purifies also what's in your heart. This is a stolen, baby. All right? This is really stolen. Continue. A time of paganism when laws were not from Allah. Oh, so when the laws are not from Allah, it's a paganism. What about from Jehovah? What about from Jesus Christ? Is it also paganism? As in the Quran 5, verse 50. Is it the laws of the time of ignorance that they desire? Who is better than Allah in judgment for people who are certain? A time of general lawlessness, of lack of rule, on the KS 48:26. Those who disbelieve fill their hearts with rage. The rage of the days of ignorance, but Allah sent His serenity down upon His messenger and upon the believers, and imposed on them the words of righteousness, of which they were most worthy and deserving. Allah is aware of everything. It's some kind of plagiarism over here. Those who understand what I'm talking about. A barbaric age marked by women displaying the adornment of their dress and ornaments before others. This is talking about the hijab. This is talking about the The head covering. This is talking about the head's covering, talking about the body covering, and the hijab, the jilbab. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Hebrew women already practiced this before Islam. Hebrew women, long time ago, before Islamic, before Muhammad even say a thing, before Muhammad even born, they already wear a head covering. You can read in the book of Corinthians, where Paul mentioned about the head covering of the women. And settle in your homes, and do not display yourself as in the former days of ignorance, and perform the prayer, and give regular charity, and obey Allah and His Messenger. Allah desires to remove all impurity from you, all people of the household, and to purify you truly. Are we never been prayer? Was Daniel not never pray? Was Isaiah never pray? So what kind of prayer that this Islamic talking about? We will find out. As we get along, we will find out. In Sahih Bukhari, volume 5, number 661, narrated by Abu Raja al-Utaridi, we used to worship stones. And when we found a better stone, then the first one, we would throw the first one to take the later. Now when they're talking about they worship a stone, the old stone, and then when they found the new stone, they discard the old stone and worship the new one. Are you familiar with the black stone in Mecca, in Kaaba? But if we could not get a stone, then we would collect some earth or soils and then bring a sheep and milk that sheep over it and perform as a tawaf around it. This is what's happened with Siri. This is what's happened with correction. It won't allow me to write tawaf. When the month of Rajab came, this is Islamic month, we used to stop the military action. I would say this is the haram month. Calling this month the iron remover, for we used to remove and throw away the iron part of every spread and arrow in the month of Rajab. Traditional view. They believe that the previous revelation were corrupted after the death of the prophets Ibrahim. Remember, Quran never say Abraham, but Ibrahim, not Abraham. So the Abraham and Ibrahim are two different people, two different persons, two different story. One is a copy of another, but it's not exactly the same person. Musa, I would say, again, this is out of correct of my typing. Supposed to be Musa, not Moses. They never call Moses, they call it Musa. Musa and Moses are two different people, two different person, two different story, two different family. Isa al-Masih, what they claim, it's not Yeshua, it's not Jesus. Please, 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 don't ever say that Isa al-Masih is the same as Jesus Christ. Two different people, two different family, and two different miracles. Isa al-Masih never performed the miracles what Jesus did. Isa al-Masih never died on the cross. our Jesus Christ died on the cross and rose again on the third day, and then lift up to heaven, ascended to heaven. Isa al-Masih is a coward. Isa al-Masih is deceiver. He deceived many people by replacing him with somebody else that looks like him. That's the Quran say. My Muslims believe that this pagan past was completely rejected after Muhammad brought the truth of Allah's word and law into Arabia. This is taken from Tom Holland, Dr. Tom Holland, In the Shadow of the Sword, The Birth of Islam and the Rise of the Global of Arab Empire by the Anchor TV on the 2023, I think it's page number 50. So what kind of practices that were kept? Actually, the practice were more than that I mentioned right here, more than the three things that I mentioned here, but I can only type three. There are so many of them that they kept, including the fasting of Ramadan. Fasting of Ramadan originally is not Islamic, but originally pagan. Idol Kurban is not originally Islamic, but it's pagans. Idol Fitri is not originally Islamic, but it's pagans. What else? Tawaf or Hajj, circumambulation on the black stone was a practice of pagans, and they kept it. The difference is, in the pagans' day, they used to do circumambulation naked. Now in Islamic, they just have to wear like a piece of clothes, just like a monk, a Buddha monk. What's the difference? They dress the same. The only difference is the color. Buddha monks' dresses color were orange, and they were white. See the difference? And what else? Throwing stones, running between Safa and Marwa. Those were before Islam, and they kept that tradition as part of pillars of Islam. Polygamy, well, it's even rampant right now. Their prophets, Muhammad, have numerous of wives, 30 wives, not including maid servants, not including those women that he rapes. So basically, in Islamic and pre-Islamic, they can marry as many women as they please. What's the difference? Retaliation, eye and eye, tooth for tooth, kill you kill. What's the difference? There is no different than the practices of barbaric tradition. There is no difference. So what the scholars' views? We'll see. The Muslim scholars would agree on the views that pre-Islamic style were brutal and ignorance of the laws of Allah. Mark right here, the ignorance of the laws of Allah. But the historians rejected these views as pre-Islamic society were generally mixed bags, as they are economically, educational, excuse me for my typos, agricultural and cultural advance, they all mix. But the Muslims believe that Muhammad was able to merge his political and religious paradigm and power and transform the pagan practice into a better society who knows about the laws of Allah. And this is a non-Muslim counter views. This is just a little bit. I don't bring it all. It is just one chapter from a book. The evidence of monotheistic religion would exist before Islam. So Islam claimed as their only monotheistic religion. It was wrong. It was false claim. There were many religions that exist who believe in God, one God, a God, and adopted a God morals. I'm sorry, moral standard by God. Islam was not the only one. They claim it, but there is just a false claim. The scholars agree that the pagan idolatry was rampant. Yes, they are. There was evidence of semi-heretical Christian beliefs. Let me say it again. There was evidence of semi-heretical Christian beliefs. That means so many different beliefs in Christianity. I'm not talking about denomination, but the core belief as a Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost. The core belief in the Trinity. They have many different of a belief of a Christian, heretical Christian beliefs, such as monophysitism, Nestorianism, Arianism, Ebionism, which they deny the aspect of Orthodox Christianity, which is Jesus is the Son of God. Jesus is the deity of God. Jesus is God. And Jesus was born of a virgin. That the Bible inspired by the Holy Ghost. This is the heretic around that time. And in the future, I'm going to explain from the book of John of Damascus, also from Daniel Janosik. What is monophysitism? What is Nestorianism, Arianism, Ebionism? What is this? What are they? What are they believe? Why are they called the heretic? We will explain it. I will explain, and I will bring some guest speakers who will best explain about this ism. And there were some Jewish Christian called Nazarians who recognized Jesus as the Messiah, but continue practice their own legal code. The Bible in the book of Acts calls this a Judaizer. It's in the book of Acts. Paul mentioned it. The Bible mentioned about it. And this is the dangers when you mix between legalistic and freedom in Christ. Legalistic and grace cannot be put together. Grace alone is enough. Some scholars take these arguments further and use as evidence to suggest that Islam developed out of heretical Christianity, Judaism, and Zoroastrians, and there were evidence of some Hinduism, Buddhism as well. So Islam is a mixed bags of all religion. Can you imagine? All religion in the world, it mixed into one bag called Islam. This hypothesized an intermediate monotheism developing early in the 7th century and ultimately formed an early Islamic development. Christian, Jews, Zoroastrian, and other local religions contributed the creation of Islam. I said before in the previous slideshow, all religion, all beliefs mix in one bag. You mix it together, you put it together. Some are lost, and you call it Islam, just like a salad. Just like a salad, that Islam is. Little bit of cabbage, little bit of lettuce, little bit of this, little bit of that. mix the dressing, mix this, mix that, stir it together, mix, 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 mix. You call it Islam. That's what it is. It's a mixed culture and religions in a bowl called Islam. They are very legalistic and claim that Isa, the other name for Jesus, was just a sinless prophet without divine status. It's just a man, just another messenger, just another prophet. They remove the divine nature of God. And we know Jehovah's Witness was the same way. Mormonism. Those two are guilty. So the question for today, what are the main characteristics of Jahiliyya according to traditional Muslims' view? What seems to be the most likely religion situation in the pre-Islamic Arabs, not Arabs. And the next, we are going to prove and debunk with the archaeological and historical fact which will reject the tradition view of Islam. Who is Muhammad? That will be the next question. Was Muhammad really the author of Islam? Two questions. Who is Muhammad? Number two question. Was Muhammad really the author of Islam? Lord willing, we will find out together. And don't forget, my friend, let me escape this. Let me go back here and put it right there. So don't forget, on Sunday, 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, we will have a comparison study, okay? Comparison study with Osama Dakdok. Thank you, friends. If you have any question, I will gladly answer you. Write down your answer in the comments below, and I will help you with that answer. God bless you, and good evening. I apologize. Was my microphone off during my presentation? I am sorry. This is what's happened when I don't have anybody help me with the presentation. Okay. Please tell me whether my mic were muted during the presentation or not. Thank you. And I will be happy to explain it again on Tuesday night. Bye-bye.